Now, I want your calls on this. Should all 18-year-olds have to do some form of national service? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Nigel Farage has said that while it may be practically difficult, the idea of young people undertaking national service is fundamentally a good one. The Reform leader thinks it could help teenagers' development and give the rising numbers of young people who are not in work, education or training something to do. Take a look at this.
There's a lot of young people not working who could be, but it's almost like the culture's gone wrong. National service. Well, you know what? If we were able to put everybody aged 18 as a national service, it would probably do the country an enormous amount of social good. People would learn a lot. They'd be taught discipline. They'd learn trades and skills they could use when they left.
I mean, it's going to speak to his electorate, isn't it? Certainly, Lowri. That's the kind of message that people love to hear. Is it practical?
No, it's not practical. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I've got kids from teen through to early 20s, and not one of them would agree, if it was voluntary, would agree to do this. Not one. And
Why not?
Well, because I think they've spent certainly the last 10 years being told this country is racist, misogynist, transphobic. We have a toxic colonial legacy. Basically, this country is terrible. So why on earth would they do service to the country by doing national?
Because they could make it better.
They have nothing. They don't believe in this country anymore because they've been told it's a terrible, terrible
Even
place.
more reason to make them do national service. The biggest problem we have with the youth today, the biggest health concern is mental health. If they do national service, that's confidence, it's resilience, it's discipline, all things you need to be a better person. And if they hate the country, well, they're forced to serve for a year. We're not sending them to Afghanistan to fight. We're making them get up on time, make your beds, make sure your uniform is ironed, and exercise. That's what this country needs.
I think Nigel Farage is living in the 1950s.
No.
I think that we've moved on. I mean,
lots of countries in the world have national service.
I know, but we are a nation of individualists. I mean, we are a sort of, with the awkward squad, aren't we? We always have been working for Europe. We are a very creative and unusual country. We're not conformist, thank God. And I think the downside of that is to force people to have to all do the same thing. I think you're really, really, really going to struggle.
We force them into school. We force kids to go to school.
And a lot of kids aren't now going. They've got
would you have done
problems.
it, Lowri? If you were coming out of school,
think I would have done,
and if your friends were doing it at the time?
No, I wanted to go off and do something creative. I would have, in fact, legally I'd have had to do it, but I would have absolutely hated it. For a lot of kids, it would feel like they're losing a year of their life.
But is that like,
and I've got other things I want to do. I mean, I agree
it's
that
character
it could be
building, isn't it?
really beneficial, but I think it's not the reality of where we live in a world where, for kids, for certainly kids, it's all about them and how they feel. And that stuff has gone so deep now.
So national service, I mean, originally was in the immediate post-war period, so carried on. My dad did it, for instance. The threat was very obvious then, wasn't it? That we had just come from a major conflict. Mm-hmm. Russia was sort of bearing its teeth at us as well. It made sense then, JJ. Does it make sense now? Our military can't handle it. Let's face facts. So why should we, take 18 months or 2 years of our kids' time and make them go through that process? Because
it's not just about training these kids to go to war. It's about the fact they're going to learn life skills as well, and skills they can learn for other jobs. In modern service would be cyber threats. Then maybe they're going to have to learn how to code. Maybe it's going to be logistics. Maybe it's operational things they're learning. Some of them will get to learn a second language. But the basic thing that I think national service would do would fix the two major issues we have currently: rising obesity rates and mental health crisis. That will massively help those two issues. You're talking about modern warfare, which actually, if anything, needs fewer people than it ever has, because it is deployed digitally and drones in the air. It doesn't necessarily need boots on the ground. No, it doesn't. But I'm not suggesting we have to do national service with the end goal of being these kids are now ready to go and fight in a war. I'm saying we have national service to make them more self-confident, to give them discipline, to give them more life skills. That's what I think national service should be used for. I mean, you look at the pandemic during COVID. There we had a crisis that actually required people to step up and do something. Is it not creating a structure where we would have people that already understand that their role is to be part of society and it is to serve and have a duty? That's what it would give these kids.
I agree, but even that word duty is so out of fashion now.
Why?
Well, it's interesting. I met a couple I went to Poland, we went to Auschwitz, and I met a couple on the coach, and they were adults and they were both in the military, and I had this conversation with them, and they were very pro this idea of, and I said, and listening to them, they spoke very they were very unembarrassed about their pride in their country, and they don't use words like duty. My kids have been brought up in London in an urban environment, and I think that the culture is all about, you know, being special and different, and I'm not going to, you know, and that's
listen,
a concern.
we're going to pick that up after the break. Don't go anywhere at all, because later on we're going to ask if teachers are right to buy food for hungry kids. But after the break, we'll be taking your calls on this, whether all 18-year-olds should do national service. Nigel Farage reckons it's a good idea. How about you? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Get on to your calls. Whether we should make all 18-year-olds do national service. 0207 862 2222 is the number, and we got loads coming in already. Beryl's in Liverpool. What do you reckon, Beryl? Does it make sense to give kids some kind of engagement with the country as soon as they get out of school?
Do you know something? I believe the young are really lost. I believe they're lost people. And honestly, I can't believe that some subsequent governments have not thought of this before. They need to have structure. I see young boys here in Liverpool, and you can see it in them. They've sort of lost. It's a lost young people. National service would let them have friends. They'll do training together. They will do lots of things. Their family will be proud of them because they're looking to want to look after our country. And I think it would be absolutely a wonderful idea.
Okay.
And the lost boys, all the lost boys, will at first feel a bit strange, but then they'll have all the company and all the training together. I think it'd be a wonderful idea.
And should it be military, Beryl? Because a couple of years ago we had a thing called the National Citizenship Service, NCS, got scrapped. It was pretty shambolic, to be honest, and got scrapped afterwards.
Right. Well, no, I would say it would be military, for the reason being, most young men would like to feel that they can protect our own country. Once they get the comradeship, when they're all together and they all feel the same way, they'll go home to their mums and dads and family and say, I had a great day today. If I see anybody in an army or a military uniform, I look at them very respectful, very kind, always excuse me, pardon. But I feel sorry for our young. I do, honestly.
Let's take another. Thank you. Thanks for your call, Beryl. That's really, really passionate. We love that. Pete's in Nottinghamshire. What do you reckon, Pete? Is national service for our 18-year-old men and women something that we should be looking at?
Well, Nigel Farage, and I believe the young man on the show there, thinks it's a good idea. I hear you learn how to shoot guns, etc. Think about the Cray twins. They did national service. How do you think it worked out for them?
Yeah.
OK. I mean, that's a very specific example, Pete. I mean, the Crays were probably the Crays before they did national service, and afterwards, I'm not sure that we can take them as maybe an example for the rest of the country. Did you hear what Beryl was saying before? The idea of feeling proud about what you've done that day is something that maybe our young people are missing.
Would you say that again, please?
Do you think that our young people need something to be proud of what they've done that day? Is that what's missing?
Most of the young people I know around here, they're really good people. I hear old people like myself moan about them, but I always find them very polite, and I don't have any problem with young kids, not whatsoever. But most people my age moan about them.
Yeah.
I don't, because I find them very, very polite and very affable.
OK, listen, thanks for calling, Pete. Here's an interesting thing for you, Lowri. It turns out the Cray twins were arrested for trying to get out of national service. So your point about enforceability, the Cray twins have kind of proved it for you there.
And people were more willing to be told to do as they were told back then. Yeah, I think it's not the panacea that's going to turn every bad apple into a kind of shining example of young personhood, is it? Absolutely not. No. I mean, I think I think I'd love to hear from a young person how they would feel, because it's all very well us saying, well, you...
Young person.
I thought he didn't have his glasses on when he did that. It's easy to say, well, they need to go. The other concern I'd have, it would be like the Vietnam War. Middle-class parents in America lifted their kids out of having to do that. Right. So it'd end up with all the working-class kids, all the NEETs being forced to do it. And everybody thought, oh, no, my son's going to university, or I've sent him off to Paris to... You know what I mean? That would be going on, wouldn't it?
Interesting. I think you're probably right there. Let's take another call. Wynn's in Carmarthenshire. What do you reckon, Wynn? Do you think, as Lowri says, that actually this will only be national service for those who can't afford to avoid it?
Totally disagree with her. Totally disagree.
Wynn, and you're Welsh as well. How could you?
OK, Wynn.
Have you got any Welsh connections, Lowri?
Of course. My name is Welsh. My father was Welsh speaking from north of Wales. Absolutely. Diawl, Wynn.
Sincere apologies to you, Lowri.
Well, listen, before we get... This turns into a Cymru Connections loving. Wynn, OK, you disagree with Lowri, so you can't be that close. Why?
The thing is, I've travelled to Israel twice, yes? And on the one occasion, I met a young chap who he was due to join the National Service in a year's time.
OK.
And... all the people I've met is a military base close to where I live, in Sunnybridge, and they often go into the stores in Llandovery, and they're all gentlemen, really real gentlemen.
Okay, what makes that change? Is it the uniform? Is it the bond between them? Is it the sense of responsibility they have? Why do they, or were they self-selecting in the first place? They were good people before they joined up.
Perhaps so. I'm not sure about that, but I've gone up to one or two on an occasion, and I shook their hands because they're such gentlemen. I think that they've gained most of that from, well, not all of it, but most of it from the army, and of course from their parents.
Okay, a chance at self-respect is what Wynn's talking about here. A chance to see yourself differently.
But also, Wynn's saying that he is impressed when he sees somebody in military uniform. I think if you come into certain parts of the big cities, you wouldn't want to walk around in a military uniform, because I think people would not be respectful for you. Because the endless talk about, being in the army, you're not on. People don't believe that you're on the side of right. Some young people don't believe that anymore.
But why are we taking into consideration what young people think? We should be saying, this is what you have to do, because this is the law now. When you turn 18, you serve for 1 year or 18 months, and you will learn these skills. After those 18 months, go off and do what you want in life. We used to have in our working class communities boxing clubs, where we'd send our boys to learn discipline and to learn exercise and fitness. And all of that training is what helps the boys develop.
Are you talking about changing culture? Because Lowri was saying, they're in a culture now which is, I don't know, where they don't feel they have to do anything.
And they hate England, and it's a racist country, and everything's bad in this country. Then go and live somewhere else. We need to change that whole culture amongst young people, and this is a great way to do that.
Let's see what Charles says. He's in Essex. Do you think national service is the way to go, Charles?
Look, honestly, the first thing I want to say is, well, short answer is no. But the first thing I want to say is, does Nigel Farage, did he do national service? Does any of his kids do national service? I see this thing commonly where politicians or leaders, they push people into going to war situations, and them and their own families don't go anywhere near the danger. Like, it's crazy. Second thing is, all the stuff that the gentleman on the panel mentioned about obesity and mental health being solved, you can solve that stuff without military service. My own parents, right? I'm a second generation immigrant. I was born here, but my parents come from abroad. They come from a country where national service is mandatory, and I swear to God, every single person I know, right, from that country, they either try and get out of doing it, or when they did do it, they said it was a complete waste of time. Like, they were treated badly, and it was like 2 years of their life they're never going to get back. If it's to do with fitness, you can go to the gym. Why not subsidize gyms? Because you might say, well, people can get fit without going to the gym. They don't have to pay a subscription. But I remember, I'm in my late 20s now.
But Charles, people aren't forced to go to gyms. Charles, people aren't forced to go to gyms. If you're in the, and don't get me wrong, even going to the army, people still try and abscond from the army, and they'll be disciplined. The majority of people in the army do not try and escape.
But would you be happy? Would you be happy for the government to tell you how you should spend your time?
Yes. Yes. If
on
I'm
what?
18 years old for 18 months,
If
yes.
the government told you you should go to war right now, because let's not kid ourselves. National service is about preparing people for war, primarily. Because otherwise, if it was about enriching you, there are other ways to enrich you. You don't have to train someone to use guns or to train for battle. You can be enriched with the gym. You can be enriched with theatre, sport, all kinds of things.
Can't enforce people to do any of those things.
War. If the government asked you to go and fight a war in the Middle East now, would you be happy?
I'm not trained to do it, so it's completely irrelevant. No, it's an irrelevant question. That's irrelevant, Charles.
Okay.
It's very relevant. You said yes to the question, I'd be happy for the government to make me do certain activities, but then you said no to the fact that if they asked you, you wouldn't go.
18 months of military service, national service, I'd be happy to do. 18 months. As they do in Israel, as they do in Sweden, as they do in Denmark, as 8 other NATO countries do, I'd be quite happy for that to happen.
Okay. Listen, we have to move on. Thank you for your call, Charles. That was a cracking debate. Lots of different opinions.